Welcome to another ECH post-game live presented by Queen Anne Beer Hall. Kraken win 4-1 over the New York Islanders, and I'm surprised I haven't taken a penalty yet. I'm surprised the refs haven't called anything on me because, oh boy, was this game filled with penalties. I think that's one of the big headlines in this one. It's rare that I've seen so many individual minor penalties called in a game. And we'll get to all the details of the Kraken win, everything, break that down. But man, I just had to mention that right off the bat because that was crazy. I haven't, you don't see that kind of thing very often. But welcome everyone to this post-game live. Again, presented by Queen Anne Beer Hall as they sponsor each and every one of these post-game lives. And I do have a good announcement to make when it comes to Queen Anne Beer Hall. We do have a date for our next watch party, and I'll get all the official announcement and the flyer and all that stuff out a little bit later. But wanted to let you guys know that Thursday, February 26th, at Moss Bay Hall, so on the east side in Kirkland, we're going to have a watch party there. So love to see all the east side people. Can't wait to have that. But I wanted to get that date out there for everyone to remember. But I'll get all the the official announcement and everything out with details a little bit later. But thought I'd throw that out there. So let's get right into chat as we've got via end. That's one way to fix your PK stats, I suppose. Yeah, the penalties were nuts, and the Kraken do go a long way toward improving the PK stats in this one. And then we've got Brybee here, Grew on his head. Yeah, Philip Grubauer, another really strong Kraken Queen in here with the Grew. Another really strong game from Philip Grubauer in this one. I think the Kraken got back to really their bread and butter, which is that Lane Lambert defensive style of hockey. I think they had gotten away from it the last few games. It led to some interesting games, some high scoring games, but that's not Kraken hockey. They're not going to win a lot of games playing like that. This is the kind of game that they're going to win, where they shut down the New York Islanders, keep the chances largely to the outside, don't give up a single goal outside of the power play early in the game, and Philip Grubauer a big part of that. The Islanders did have their chances, but Grubauer shut them down. Even to the last second, too, he made a big save at the end when the Kraken, it felt like they kind of stopped playing, with about 5 seconds to go. I get it. That's fine. It doesn't impact the game. But I was really like, stop that one, Grew, so we didn't have to change the score on the graphic and redo all of our stuff. So shout out to Grubauer for helping us out there. That was big. So love all the love for Philip Grubauer. He's been amazing. We've said it all season. Feel like a broken record, but there's so much going on. And then Jamin here with Grubauer's point tonight. Only Murray and Hayden need a point each for Seattle to have every player that played for them this season to have a point. And that's pretty cool. I mean, look, we know the Kraken, if they're going to have success, it's got to be through scoring by committee. And I mean, that's certainly one way to do it. I think the Kraken have had a lot of point production from their goaltenders too, probably more than any other team. I haven't checked the other teams, but that is big. And yeah, it's nice to see. Murray might be a long shot. I don't know that he's going to have a chance. And then, of course, John Hayden would also need to be called up. But that's a pretty impressive stat there. Now, as for the Grubauer point, because he gets a point on the empty net goal, the Kraken score, we were thinking up in the press box, we're like, oh, wouldn't that be cool if Grubauer took a shot at the empty net? It's a 2-goal lead. And the Islanders dumped it in, gave him plenty of time. And we were like, oh, he didn't even think about it for a second. Just immediately turns, hands it to Brandon Montour, which is the smart move. Like that, I get it. That's the smart thing, the right thing to do. But I was kind of hoping to see Grubauer go for that goalie goal. That Joey would never hear the end of it if Grubauer got a goal first. So I think we were kind of rooting for that as low as the odds were. Wisconsin Kraken fan here. This playoff slot is very contentious. Yes, it is. I mean, the Turtle Derby is certainly in full force for this playoff spot. I mean, the wild card race, the Kraken actually don't really get any help tonight. The 2 games that they were looking at, Anaheim beating Colorado, impressive effort by the Ducks to beat Colorado in a shootout. We watched the end of that one up here in the press bridge. And then Utah also coming back to beat the Flyers. So yeah, a lot of competition. And of course, the Kraken's next game is going to be against the Anaheim Ducks. That's going to be huge for them, and for that playoff race. I mean, those 2 teams are going to be right in it. So going to be a big game coming up. Wisconsin Kraken fan, I apologize for no lights or food for thought. Work has been busy. No worries whatsoever. Always do appreciate the food for thought. Like, I love it. But again, never feel obligated. I understand people get busy. That happens. let's see, Karemi, Gruby, our MVP, also done with 100 emojis. The lines finally are working again. And I think that's something we're talking about is the big line shakeup for the Kraken in this one. Some big moves from the forward lines and a bit of a shakeup on the D pairs as well. Going into this one, I was curious how it would all work out because, I mean, of course, you go back to the classic McCann, Beniers, Eberle line. We've seen that a ton of times. That, you know, we know what to expect from that line. But beyond that, it was a little different. I'm looking up the ice time for all lines because, again, all the penalties really messed with the amount of ice time for everybody. But yeah, the Beniers line, of course, the top line at 5-on-5. And then you did have actually Schwartz, Wright, Kakko played a little bit more time than the Stevenson line at 5-on-5. Again, the penalty stuff is going to like mess you all up with the numbers here, but it was pretty close between the next three lines, and then the fourth line, and then of course you had the Chandler Stevenson line. Yeah, the lines I thought looked pretty good. You know, we can dive into it a little bit more when we talk maybe Shane Wright. I'm sure someone's going to kind of bring that up at some point in this post game, but overall they seem to work and kind of build off of each other. Edward Kraken enjoying some home cooking. Definitely, I think they were more than ready for that road trip to be over. I think they needed to come back here, find their game a little bit, and I think it's helping them quite a bit. Bryby here, TNT crew was loving Catton. I'm sure. Berkeley Catton looked super, super impressive in this one. I mean, he just keeps reaching that next level where you see those pops of skill, whether it's, I mean, I think of a couple plays in the offensive zone where he kind of dangled between an Islander's legs and then made a pass and made a play. Like Berkeley Catton is feeling it. He's feeling confident. And I've loved his game recently, and he's just so fun to watch. I turned to Dylan at one point and I said, look, if the Kraken had 3 Berkeley Cattons, like our job would be so much more fun. And it's just fun watching him. Now, that said, he only had 8:23 of ice time tonight, second least on the team. Ryan Winterton there with 8:11, but like nobody else particularly close. I think that's, you know, part of the special teams being part of that issue and the penalties and the power plays and stuff. Also defending a lead. I think situationally Lane Lambert would want to put a different player out there sometimes in Berkeley Catton's spot, but in the little bit of ice time he got, again, very little ice time for him, he looked really impressive. I think this just wasn't the kind of game script where you use a Berkeley Catton as much. And then, Wisconsin Kraken fan, the penalty box was probably warm the whole game. Yeah, I mean, we could talk about the penalties a little bit. Like, look, I think, and I've seen some opinions, whether it was on the Discord or on social media, about like the officiating in this game. I think the refs just really called it tight both ways. Called lots of little things and a lot of legit penalties. Like both teams took a lot of very legitimate penalties in this one. The refs kind of had to call, and I think probably later in the game they wanted to put the whistles away, but the teams really just kind of gave them no choice. That said, I think especially early on in this one, the refs were too involved, just calling every little thing. And it felt like, you know, then they had to, you call the 3 penalties against the Kraken early. Then I think they felt like they had to make that up. And so you give the Kraken the 5-on-3. Like if not for the 3 penalties earlier in that game, I don't think that penalty on McCann gets called to give him a 5-on-3. Like it's one of those where the refs are just trying to kind of then make up for it both ways. And then they feel like they need to call everything. And I don't know, they were too involved for my taste tonight in this one, even though there were plenty of penalties. I felt like the teams gave them no choice. And then Karemi, yes, Catton, they're loving Gruby too. That, I mean, impressive effort from him. And I think even for the national broadcasters who probably don't have the time to follow Seattle all season, you can see the numbers that he's been one of the best goalies in the NHL. And now you get the chance to see it in person. So that doesn't surprise me at all. Kashawn KG, impressive performance tonight. Islanders are good this season, and Kraken held them to 1 despite all the PKs. Yeah, the Islanders surprisingly very high in the standings this year. I think that was not really expected by many. They have been lifted by some stellar goaltending from Ilya Sorokin. We didn't really see it tonight, but overall this season he has been excellent. And then some pretty good shooting as well. But yeah, the Kraken, I mean, they did hold the Islanders to 1 goal. And I mean, I will say on the PKs, like the Islanders do have the 27th ranked power play in the NHL. It's probably, that was going into the game. It's probably worse now. So not exactly a great power play, but hey, the Kraken, after giving up that first one, they kept him in check. And I mean, the Islanders generated almost nothing on their power plays. It was pretty clear by the end of the game when they weren't gonna score. So that was pretty clear. Viren, yes, the Kraken lead the league in goalie points with 4, unless Utah also got one tonight. I mean, what are the odds? Although Utah did score 5 goals, so maybe Vejmelka probably might have gotten one. But yeah, it does not surprise me they lead the league in goalie points. Let's see, Wisconsin Kraken fan. I miss Yanni. He's dominant in the AHL, though, which makes me happy. Yeah, the text to talk about doing you justice there. Meaning Yanni Newman, of course. I do too. Again, I think he probably wouldn't really be getting much ice time here, but he is too good for the AHL. I said this when he was sent down. He's just too good for that league, and he's showing it right now. He is dominant in the AHL. He should not be in the AHL, but, with the way this team plays, there's no home for him here. So instead, he just goes and dominates the AHL. But I do miss him too. Cheryl Dunn giving Melly and fourth line a shout out on the broadcast right now. Yeah, I mean, Vince Dunn, again, he's always one to appreciate his teammates and the work that they do. The fourth line, the amount of scoring has just been incredible for them over the last month or so now. When they chip in a goal almost every game, it's hard to lose games when your fourth line's contributing like that. Again, I wonder how long this stretch can go. It's one of those things like in year 2 where it can last a whole season. Like we've seen that happen. Generally doesn't last multiple seasons, but we'll see how long that can go from the fourth line. But they are playing great right now. And it feels like every team, there's not much they can do about it. The other thing too, I wanted to point out is the fourth line was getting matchups against the Islanders, like third line. Usually they weren't even playing largely against the Islanders fourth line, which makes it all the more impressive. They were actually getting a tougher matchup in this one, which was kind of cool. And they were still winning that matchup. Yeah. Lindsay wondering how the time on ice would have been if not for the penalties. Yeah, it would have looked very different. The penalties kind of screw it up in this one. You can't really put a lot of stock into that. Here we go. Octoparakeet. I didn't want to jinx it by bringing it up before the game, but my fun fact is that for games refed by Justin Key, the Islanders are 0-7-3 over the last 3 seasons. That is interesting. That is really interesting, especially knowing that before the game too. I think scouting the refs, I don't know if they put the records with the teams on there when they announced the refs for this game, but that is really interesting. And I will say, as far as like the lots of calls, I think it was pretty even-handed. They were just calling it super tight both ways. That said, given that the Kraken have the second best power play in the league over the last like almost 2 months, and the Islanders have one of the worst power plays in the league, I think if you decide you're going to call it that tight, and if there's going to be like 7 power plays per team, like that, I don't want to say it guarantees a Kraken win, but it makes it extremely likely that the Kraken are going to win the game. So I think it helped out that a lot of penalties were called both ways. And certainly with the Islanders getting the first few power plays in this one. And I think, it kind of swung momentum back a little bit. And you saw that with the 5-on-3. George, losing this game would have been another big swing in the standings. Utah won, and Anaheim stole 2 points from Colorado tonight. Incredible play from Dostal. From the rest of Anaheim, not so much. Yeah, I mean, I did watch the end of both of those games because it was intermission for the Kraken, and so I got the chance to look at them. And yeah, the Kraken, if they had lost this one, could have fallen further in the standings. And because, they don't get any help from the out-of-town scoreboard. Utah did their thing and just outscored their problems. And then Anaheim, absolutely. Dostal stole those points from Colorado. Colorado just is that much better than everybody. But credit to the Ducks getting a couple points out of that one. They are missing everybody. Like McTavish was a late scratch before the game. Leo Carlson's been out. Troy Terry's been out. Like the Ducks have nobody left. We'll talk about it in the lead up to like the next game because the Kraken face Anaheim next. The Ducks are so banged up. I don't know how they're winning at all right now. Like they shouldn't be beating anybody. They've got like nobody left. Viren, too much man on a national game, for shame. I know we were all thinking about that too. And unfortunately with the national broadcast, we don't get Allison there for the too much man on the penalty. Too much man will always be funny to me. Same here, Kraken Queen. Let's see. And then Viren, I wonder if negating their own power plays is a consistent problem for the Islanders. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't watch them enough, but like they certainly did that tonight and in a way that really made a difference. I mean, of course, leading to that 4-on-4 and then the brief power play and then the goal that I don't think was technically a power play goal, but the Kakko one, that shifted momentum in the Kraken's favor quite a bit. And that was a big deal in this one. And then we got Bribey, was gutted to hear about Shane today. Candidly hope he gets a fresh start elsewhere. And yeah, I mean, that was kind of the big story around the Kraken earlier today. That report from David Pagnotta that the Kraken would be open to moving Shane Wright if it was in the right move for a top 6 winger, and that Wright might be a little disappointed with his usage. And you know what? Like, this is something that we've been talking about for months. That's the reason that I put a tweet out there, put a post out there and amplified it. Not, because, and I know there's people like, oh, Pagnotta doesn't know what he's talking about. He's not a real insider. Like, again, I don't know him as one of the guys that will just make stuff up or throw stuff out there. Again, I don't really understand that. But again, this is something that Dylan and I have been talking about for months now, is that, again, the Kraken just have never prioritized Shane Wright's development. And eventually that's going to be a problem. And it kind of is. He's on a 29-point pace this season. He's not getting a lot of ice time. He gets, and I know the ice time figures are all off this game, so 12-14 tonight, but he gets under 10 minutes last game. Like, he is not a part, they're not playing him like a part of this core right now. And he just hasn't had the opportunity to succeed. And at this point, he's not even earning it. That's the thing. I mean, you look at the game tonight, he has Capo Caco and Jaden Schwartz on his wings. Those are good wingers. And a lot of the game, Dylan and I noticed, that line was being placed against the Islanders' 4th line. Like, that's a plus matchup. You should be able to dominate that matchup. And for large stretches of the game, they got caved in. Like, we were paying attention whenever they came over the boards. They were largely in the D zone, hemmed in by the Islanders' 4th line. Shane Wright did not look very good in this one. Kind of brought the line down. The line itself didn't look great. I know Kako and Schwartz combine on the 4-on-4, but that's a different kind of look. I wasn't impressed. And so I think it might be the end of the road, or close to the end of the road, maybe like, this off season, for Shane in Seattle. I just don't see a future for him here. And I don't see the team really placing any emphasis or priority on trying to develop him. So it was a disappointing report to see, but it's not something that surprises me at all. It's something I've been talking about for months. So, and then Viren, didn't Merrick say something similar about Wright's feelings, then walk it back a few weeks ago? Yeah, I know Merrick was saying, and I think it wasn't even, if I recall correctly, it wasn't even saying that he knew that Wright was feeling that way, just that I would imagine he would probably be feeling that way, kind of thing. So I think Merrick was on it a little bit a couple weeks ago. And this is something Dylan and I have been monitoring too, because we've been wondering it ourselves. It feels like the writing's on the wall here, and it would only be a matter of time before the national insiders start to kind of notice what's going on here with Shane. So I think there is probably something to that. And then, as Lindsay's saying, yeah, it doesn't take an insider to see that Shane isn't the best fit for this organization. I would totally believe he wants out. That's the thing. Like, if you're paying attention, that's something that you should be seeing. Like, it's a very real situation right now. And so I think, that's just kind of where it's at. And it's unfortunate to see, but I think it's real. And then Jason asking, is there a team that wants to move a top 6 winger for Shane? Like, one that would be an upgrade? Well, I mean, the idea would be, I think at this point, Shane Wright, you've played Shane Wright in a way that his value is going to be seriously diminished now. But I think the idea would be to have Shane Wright plus 1 or 2 other things for a top 6 winger. And that's the kind of deal that might get something done. Shane Wright plus a very good prospect and a 1st-round pick, say, for a top 6 winger. Like, I think St. Louis might look into something like that for Jordan Kyrou, hypothetically. Or if you're going after a bigger name like Jason Robertson or someone where you're really swinging for the fences, you could do like Shane Wright, Jared McCann, Riker Evans, and a 1st or something. And that's the larger package. It would be part of a package for an upgrade as far as a player. Like, it wouldn't be just Shane Wright for somebody. And then Viren, I thought he said he was going to ask around and then said there wasn't anything there. I mean, you're probably right. Again, I don't remember the follow-up on that. So that might be it. So maybe, and again, like, Shane doesn't seem like the type of player who would openly complain about this sort of thing, or leak it to the media or whatever. Like, I don't know. I don't believe that Pagnotta, has heard necessarily, like, from Shane or his camp that he's unhappy or anything like that. I think he probably is getting this from some source that has heard Shane's name come up in trade conversations, because look, lots of players' names are out there. Like, and that's where, like, people talk about these insiders, like, oh, they put this guy's name's out there and he didn't end up getting traded. What do they know? They don't know anything. A lot of players' names are out there that don't necessarily result in deals, but they're being talked about by GMs, by teams. And I think it's probably that's the case, that the Kraken have probably let it be known that, hey, we're looking for a difference maker at forward, which they should be. And that, maybe Shane is someone we would send back if that's what it's going to take. I think that's probably the situation there. And that's what Pagnotta's hearing. That would be my guess. And again, it just makes sense on all the different fronts, given how this situation has gone. I think it probably makes sense for the Kraken to sell before his value gets even lower, because the way you're playing him, his value is not going to get higher. You're playing him like a third to fourth liner. You're playing him 10 minutes every night, 12 minutes every night. Like he's not going to resurrect any value for you. You got to make a move sooner rather than later, I think. And then Karemi asking, what are your thoughts about the next game against Anaheim? They won in the shootout against Colorado. So I touched on it a little bit earlier, but yeah, Anaheim's missing everybody. They're missing a lot of key players on their team. They still do have Jackson Lacombe. That's important, who just got named to Team USA for the Olympics, but they are relying on goaltending and just surviving, staying in games right now. So I think the Kraken should be pretty heavy favorites against Anaheim. They're just so beat up. The Kraken beat Anaheim earlier in the year. That game doesn't scare me a whole lot, just because of how beat up the Ducks are. And it's an important one in the standings, of course. Ducks right in front of them, but they're just so banged up. I have a hard time seeing the Kraken, looking too bad and losing that game, unless there's some great defensive performance, and Dostal steals it. But I don't know if that's going to happen. Let's see. Let's scroll back up in chat. And I don't see Dylan yet. Actually, how long? It's been only like 21 minutes, so it hasn't been that long. But Dylan will join us at some point. He's gone down to talk to the players, the coaches after this one, as is usual for the post-game live. Urso Root just wanted to mention that Carson Rakoff scored his first pro hat trick today against the San Jose Barracuda. Love to see that from him. I saw the second goal. I saw that he had scored 2, did not know he completed the hat trick. So thank you for letting me know there, Urso Root. And I was asking Dylan about him too. And I was like, because Dylan follows the prospects a little bit closer than I do. And Dylan was saying that he had been mostly a third liner this season, but hopefully he can kind of build the momentum off of that and get that going. I know he's got a great shot. He never seems to come out when I'm watching, but good for Carson Rakoff there with his first pro hat trick. Again, it's the kind of thing where you hope a game like that can help you build momentum, build confidence. And I'm trying to look up where he is scoring wise this season, what kind of numbers he's put up, because it's been a while since I've checked like in relation to him. Yeah, 12 points in 36 games. I don't think that includes tonight. So, again, you'd like to see a little bit more production from a 21-year-old, but, good for Rakoff there. Hopefully that helps him really get things going. Let's see. Adam asking, should Gruby be the starting goalie? I think in a sense, like if you are going to say there's a starter and a backup right now, I think he is the starter. Like the Kraken are playing him with priority over Joey Decord right now, as they should be. I mean, I'd support starting Grubauer next game. I'd go to maybe 1 every 4 starts for Joey with how things are going right now, goaltending wise. I mean, I think already right now it's a 1A, 1B situation with Grubauer and Decord, but Grubauer is the clear 1A, as he should be. I'm a big supporter in playing the hot hand, and I think Grubauer has earned it. He's clearly the better of the 2 goalies right now. So, yeah, I think that answers the question. And then Cheryl, did Riker come back after the accidental slash to the face? Yeah, I believe he did. He went down the tunnel for a little bit, but I think he came back shortly afterwards. Yeah, it was friendly fire there from Ben Myers, but I think Riker seemed okay after that one. Let's see, and then we're getting to more of the Shane Wright stuff. And then Chuck saying one of the Kraken's goals came after what looked like it could possibly have been called icing. Is it possible for the opposing coach to ask for a review for a missed icing as they do for offsides? I don't believe it is. I don't think that is possible to review for, because that's part of the official's discretion on that. And I know the offside is too, but I've never seen a review where they've looked at it like right on the line or whatever for icing. I don't think that's something that you can review for. And also because the officials have the ability to kind of wave it off if they feel it's close, or, the player's going to get there first or something. So I don't think they can review for that. And then Mark saying, maybe I'm being a bit too sensitive, but I thought the TNT announcer calling Bowie a scumbag made me a bit angry. Seems a bit over the top for me. So I'm going to guess, again, I didn't watch the broadcast, but I'm going to guess that was Biz. And he and Bowie have this rivalry going for years. And so it's a bit, as Viren saying, yeah, it's the two of them just kind of, they go at it for everyone's entertainment. They're both part of it. They both engage with it. And it's all in good fun. And then let's see. And then Mark asking, did Gruby get 2 assists today? That is what the Kraken app says. Gave him an assist for the 3rd and 4th goals. Pretty sure he just had the 1 assist. Let's see, the 3rd. Yeah, I don't. I'm going to double check this, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, no, the Kako Schwartz one. Yeah, no, he just had the 1 assist. I was like, I don't remember it being back in their zone where Gruby. Yeah, it's just 1 assist. And then Robert saying, I totally agree that Shane needs more ice time, but Shane faceoffs numbers aren't great. How does he get better? And that's a good question on faceoffs generally. Like, younger players do tend to struggle in the dot, and it's just something that, like, you kind of learn how it's done. And I think, actually, I don't know how much I can say on this. Somebody that we know is going to put out a really good article about faceoffs at some point in the future that I will very much recommend reading once it's out. I'll say that much. So I've been thinking about this a lot lately with face-offs and kind of how it goes, and I don't want to take anything from the article that I want to leave it there. But I think as far as how to improve, a lot of it's just practice and reps, and it's not the kind of thing that I think you can even like really drill down on in practice and just like get noticeably better over the course of a season. Usually it's the kind of thing that takes years for guys to work on. And I think it's just going to be time for Shane. Like, it's just going to probably take a few years for him to get better. And that's the case for a lot of younger centers. Like, Matty Beniers has finally kind of started to come into his own, and it's already like 4 years after he was drafted. So that's the kind of thing that just happens. I think the issues with Shane are larger than that. I think it's not really so much about face-offs, although it doesn't help him. I think it's more about play driving. And we've seen that when he goes to wing as well. It's about confidence. It's about shooting the puck. It's about the bigger picture with him. And I understand it's harder to maybe trust him on face-offs for Lane Lambert, especially like in the D zone, but he's already getting a ton of offensive zone time. He's being super sheltered. I wouldn't worry about it too much. There's other issues there besides the face-offs. And then, lots of smart people. That's so vague. I know I have to keep it vague. I don't want to spoil anyone's like article that might come out or whatever. Best guess is Allison or Sound of Hockey. Again, I will not comment on that. I'm sorry, everybody. I love you all, but I can't say anything further on that. But I will let you all know when it comes out, and I will recommend giving it a read, because I know also some of the sources that this person went to for the article. And there's some really good sources in there from the Kraken and otherwise. So it's going to be good. Hey there, Maddie. Good to see you in here. You got in here ahead of Dylan, so that's still good. And then Bribey here, Stevenson contract was the nail in the coffin for Shane development. Never got a chance. Oh man, I'll probably talk about it on the podcast on the deep dive next week. I could go on for like half an hour talking about the different areas of Shane Wright's development where the Kraken prioritized winning in the short term over developing Shane Wright. And I think there's like 4, I typed out a whole like thing, a whole like rant manifesto, whatever, when talking to a friend of mine today who was asking me about it. And I think it ended up like long thing on the DM, but I came up with 4 key moments where I thought the Kraken like really made a big decision that kind of stunted Shane Wright's development. And so like I could go on for half an hour. I probably will talk about it quite a bit at length on the next deep dive, but I think really at every turn since they got him, the Kraken have, whenever they've had the opportunity to choose short-term success or even just the hope of short-term success versus developing Shane Wright, they've picked the former rather than the latter. And so it's just, you keep picking one over the other. You can't be surprised when this ends up happening. And then Nep here saying, I think Wright did well under Bilesma. that's probably the most confusing part of it, is that Shane Wright did really well in Dan Bylsma's system. I think he was a natural fit for it, both in CV and then up at the NHL level last season. I still, for the life of me, don't know why Dan Bylsma never gave him more ice time and more opportunity, even though the season has already kind of been lost. They weren't making the playoffs. You had tons of games to work with. They never gave him more of a chance. And I think that was probably the worst thing they ever did for his development. That was the most inexcusable part of the whole Shane Wright story, was the fact that they never gave him more than third line ice time at any point last season and let him build off that confidence and have more of a challenge. So like, the Bylsma system was great for Shane. They just needed to play him. Like I can't even, I don't know how to explain it. And then Jason, good sources, aka they asked RJ. No, I'm definitely not a good source on faceoffs. There are many more better sources than me. And then Jason, there's ways the Kraken have hurt Shane's development, but Winterton and Catton have showed that there was an opportunity to earn it this year, and he just hasn't. I think Winterton he fits the Lane Lambert system. That's the other thing. Again, I'm trying not to get into my whole 4-point thing, but like the other big decision I think they made was hiring Lane Lambert in the first place and going with this system. That, look, Shane Wright needs, I think, more room for error, more ability to kind of be a little bit more freewheeling, be creative, be confident. And in this system, you can't make mistakes. You have to be really focused defensively. You can't, look at earlier this season. You can't even shoot the puck a lot. You got to be selective with your shots. None of that really works, I think, for the way that Shane Wright plays. And so when you go into that Lane Lambert system, you have to guess that he's probably going to struggle with it. Whereas Ryan Winterton, defensively responsible, 200-foot player, doesn't do a whole lot offensively, but he contributes in all the little ways. It's meant for someone like that. And yeah, I'm sure they can continue to develop like Jacob Melanson. They'll develop a ton of great fourth liners playing this way, like really good bottom six guys like that fits. And then Berkeley Catton, I think the thing with him is that, one, I think he didn't have some of the same like hits to his confidence as Shane did from like earlier in his career. He's able to come at it a little bit more fresh and with less expectations. And then also, again, he's just a different style of player. He can work really well on the perimeter and kind of distribute and stuff. And, he's not at the point where he needs to be like a top six guy right now. And so it's a little bit of a different situation for him, but the opportunity has been there for Shane. He hasn't earned it, but I don't know that it's entirely on him. I think it's kind of stacked against him here system wise. And then Edward prioritized winning now over developing Shane Wright. Well, at least that worked out well for them. Well, that's the thing. They didn't even get the win now, the last couple seasons. They didn't even get the benefit from it. But I think this year they will. I think they're going to go to the playoffs this year, and we'll see what that looks like and what they can get out of it. And then Urso asking, do you think Wright would do better as a winger? It's hard to say. I think long-term he still profiles as a center. Like, I think on his next team, he's going to be a really good 2C. I think that's probably what he ends up being in the NHL. I think on this team, it might be better to kick him out to wing, just give him less defensive responsibility to have to worry about, and just try and get him to, not be worried about making a mistake. But again, with this coaching staff and with how little margin for error this team has, I don't know that that's possible. But right here, right now, I think, it might be better as a winger, just because maybe it would give him some room in the top six. But even then, I don't know. I don't think they would put him over the other wingers right now. I'm just struggling to see a path for him on this team right now. And then Cheryl, I'm struggling a bit because Catton is forcing the issue based on play and earning his ice time, and you can see it in his development. Like you absolutely can. Like Berkeley Catton is earning more ice time, but here's the thing. Berkeley Catton, I'm trying to remember this stat from memory, so if it's not 100% correct, forgive me. But I remember tweeting this after like the second game of the season. Berkeley Catton played like over 18 minutes in the second game of his NHL career. And you can't really say he's done a lot to earn it at that point. It's the second game of his NHL career. And I'm pulling this up to make sure I can get it right here. Let's see. Yeah, he had 18-13 of ice time in his second career game. Shane Wright only hit 18 minutes of ice time twice at that point in his 102-game NHL career. Like Berkeley Catton was handed opportunity from day one or day two that Shane Wright never had. And so, like, yes, he's playing well. Yes, he's absolutely earning it. I have no issue with it on the Catton front. But Shane Wright, in 100 games, was never given the kind of opportunity Catton was given in game two. they were just handled completely differently. And then Karemi, they mentioned on the broadcast there's 3 or 4 free agent players for the Seattle Kraken. I remember they mentioned Eberle and Tolvanen. And yeah, Vyren's got it. Eberle, Schwartz, Tolvanen, Alexiak, and Myers are the UFAs on the roster. So those are the guys that are going to have to make some decisions on whether it be re-sign, trade, or kind of risk leaving for nothing there. And then B, I mean, I would argue Shane was forcing the issue last year and they just didn't give him a proper chance anyways, which doesn't make sense. Exactly. That's the thing. He did everything you could possibly ask for. He was one of the best scorers in the NHL on a permanent basis. They never gave him the opportunity. And so like they've just treated him differently. And so this season, yeah, he hasn't done a lot to earn it. Last season, he did everything you could possibly ask for. They still didn't give it to him. So I don't know. As I see Dylan getting ready here, as we reach the end of chat too, it's good timing. So if anyone's got any questions for Dylan or anything you want to see Dylan weigh in on, let me know as I see him getting ready. I'm going to take a drink though for a sec. Oh, I'm glad they got the water fountain thing so spaced all around on the press bridge. It's nice. And Bryce, the whole right saga is giving me flashbacks of Cody Hodgson in Vancouver many years ago. High draft pick center, but stuck on the 4th line in favor of vets and then suddenly traded at the deadline. I mean, there are a number of guys you can look at as far as high draft picks who kind of fell into this situation. And very few of them, if they haven't gotten it together by the season that, like by this age season that Shane Wright is, ever figure it out. And the ones that do, the rare ones that do, are ones that go to a different team and they figure it out somewhere else. I hate to say it, but that's kind of what it is. And then I bet that not giving Shane ice time was why Dan was fired. It wouldn't surprise me if that was part of it. As we're getting Dylan here, getting ready, setting everything up. He's giving me the thumbs up. So let's get Dylan out here to join us. Hey, Dylan, how's it going?
Pretty good. How's it going here? Sorry, it took me a sec.
No, it's all right. Going fine. I mean, a lot of the talk recently has been about Shane Wright. We've kind of gotten into the meat of that whole situation. So I'll probably ask for your opinion a little bit later on that one. But first, I got to ask Dylan, this question's from me. I'll go to the chat questions later. But what did everyone have to say, not just about the game, but about the penalties, about all the penalties in this one? What did the coaches and players have to say about that?
It might disappoint you, RJ, because I know you were really waiting for this one and to see how it was kind of answered.
Something funny.
Yeah, Vince Dunn kind of just brushed it off, just like the standard, can't do that. I thought Philip Grubauer gave a pretty good answer, just as far as, starting off that game, that's not how you want to start it. It's a rough way to get going there. But he said that the pre-scout that they did for the Islanders power play really came through for them as far as being able to keep them to the outside, keep them to the perimeter, keep them down into the corners below the goal line if they could, things of that nature, and that was able to really kind of get them through this one. So I like that answer from Philip Grubauer, especially after the last game. The idea that the pre-scout came through for him, they were able to execute on that. And then Glenn from Davy Jones' Locker had the stat of, despite the fact that there were 7 power play opportunities for the Islanders, they only had 7 shots on goal while on the power play. So only averaging 1 shot given up per power play opportunity there. It's a pretty good job by the Kraken PK in this one. And then Lane Lambert, classic coach speak, got to stay out of the box.
Yep, I'm not surprised to hear that from Lane. And yeah, I guess a lot of the guys would probably take the angle of like, yeah, we can't take that many penalties. I just felt it was a both sides kind of thing. I felt the refs were just calling it really tight both ways. Like that's what felt exceptional to me.
That was another thing that Lane said. He said, they called a lot of penalties. Were they all penalties? It just kind of shrugged, like not sure that they are. And, it kind of felt that way up top, right? My grand conspiracy for the evening was just that this is Kraken Islanders game. It's a national broadcasting game. We saw what happens when these two teams play each other the last time they played each other, and it was 0-0 going into a shootout. And I think everybody kind of just got the idea of, look, we need this game to be watchable on TNT tonight. Maybe, throwing out 5 penalties in the first 10 minutes will get something going. And you know what? It did.
Yeah, I was waiting to give you the opportunity to put your theory out there about maybe all the penalty calls. I think there could be something to that. As Everett says, game start time, Pim's o'clock, and yeah, Kylie just got back from the game. Those penalties were driving me nuts. That was definitely the opening thing in chat, is everyone talking about the penalties to start this one off. And also a lot of love for Philip Grubauer. Got to talk to him after this one, like what was his read on this? It must have felt like a hectic or kind of a weird game for him with all the PKs, all the power plays, even though he didn't face a ton of shots.
Yeah, he said that it was like in some ways good because you get the power play opportunities. You got to get like right into it, right? Your mindset's got to be there. You got to be sharp. You're going to be facing shots and those opportunities and everything. So in some ways, it's kind of nice to be able to start that way for him. But for the most part, he was just very complimentary of the team in front of him, especially when talking about the third period, holding the Islanders to only 5 shots on goal during that third period, despite the fact that they were down by 2 going into that frame. Just largely credited the group in front of him. He said that he felt like he had that one dangerous opportunity, Barzal kind of coming out of the corner, and he made that play there. But other than that, he felt like the team in front of him made his job pretty easy tonight.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Anything else notable from the pressers after this one?
Um, there was one thing. I'm trying to remember exactly how Glenn phrased it, but we got a pretty good reaction from Lane Lambert when asked if he liked how the team was playing defensively, right? The 5 shots on goal, the 7 shots on the power play off the 7 opportunities for the Islanders, the 5 shots in the third frame, and he gave probably the biggest smile that I've ever seen Lane Lambert give.
Okay,
because
not one to smile a lot.
Glenn left it with, does that make you happy? And he just smiled big and he said, it makes me happy.
I love it. I got to go back and find the video on the Dropbox of that, because I would love to see it.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good moment there. But yeah, I think otherwise, there was that air of you can't take 7 penalties and expect to win games and all of that.
Yeah.
But you know what? We got away with it tonight. And the 5-on-5 time that we did have tonight was very solid. It was a good bounce back performance from the way that they had been playing. And so I think everybody was just kind of taking a win because those have been infrequent lately, we'll say.
Yeah, and hopefully this is one that can kind of turn things around a little bit for the Kraken, give them some confidence they need, especially heading into an important game against Anaheim on the next one. People in chat too talking about the game that Anaheim had, which we did watch the end of, and how they kind of stole a couple points from Colorado. It's going to be an interesting one next. And then B saying, I love seeing the Torrent players at the game. Super cool. I love to see it too. And I know, Dylan, you've been working your butt off with the Torrent coverage recently. It's been a very busy week for you. I mean, anything to say about the Torrent and the players here?
I mean, just incredible last 2 games from them, here at home. It's their last home games before the Olympic break. They got the takeover tour game on Sunday, but the incredible performance they had against the Boston Fleet, weren't able to come away with the victory in that one, fall in the shootout, but it was arguably their best game all season long. And then last night against Toronto, it started off rough, 2 goals given up pretty early, but Torrent were able to battle back in that one, end up netting 6 of their own. It was kind of the first time the offense has really woken up for them. And I think that was something that they kind of needed, especially as, you're getting towards the Olympic break, and then it's going to be the second half of the season and the mad dash to the finish there. The Torrents are within striking distance of a playoff spot in the standings, but, any little bit of help you can get here before the Olympic break would be nice. And then also a couple historic firsts for the Torrent last night. Got their first jailbreak goal from courtesy of Lexi Agia. Great play from her there. And then also twice we got the first goal by a Torrent defender. First time, Lindsay Lobdell. That one ends up getting credited to Julia Gosling with the beautiful tip along the way on that pass, on that shot from the point. And then later on, Megan Carter able to get the official first goal by a defender in Torrent history. So it was a fun one. Got to listen to a lot of Paramore last night in here. But yeah, good way for them to kind of close things out here at CPA before, we don't see them here in Seattle for like a month and a half, it feels like.
I know it's going to be so long, and I loved that they started playing Misery Business for a second before showing the torrent players on there, so we would be ready for it with our video and everything ready to go. And also, awesome seeing all the love for the torrent here in chat from Bryce, from Karemi, from Reading ID. Love to see that from everybody. And then let's see, and then Brybee here, fourth line, still eating. I do miss Melanson though. Thoughts on the fourth line, Dylan? I still like. They are generating a lot of offense. They're playing well in tougher matchups too, because I did talk about earlier how they were often not matched up against the Islanders' fourth line. They were matched up against higher lines for the Islanders and still doing really well. Like how long can they keep this up? Like again, it's so rare that fourth lines are able to do this.
Well, you talk about the usage with them, and Vince Dunn did hint at that during one of his answers about that specific line. It was asked to him as, that fourth line has really, been on a tear here lately, and all the things that they've been providing for the team. And he said, if you can even call them the fourth line, he said, the way things are right now, who knows what line is what line, was kind of how he phrased it, but definitely gave them love. And certainly based on the way that they've been playing, everything about it has just been clicking for them. Ben Myers has just been fantastic. It's up another assist tonight. But I just love the North-South game that he plays, the energy, the hustle, the smart plays and decisions he makes. I think he's been a great fit defensively as well in this Lane Lambert system. Not that it feels like that line has to play a lot of defense. Ryan Winterton was certainly fantastic this evening, helped set up one of those goals. And then, you had noted it during the game, just felt like he had some of that preseason speed back. It felt like against the Islanders in this one, there was a lot of open and available ice over on his side, and he was able to really kind of stretch his legs out and go for it and attack in a way that he doesn't normally he isn't normally able to kind of attack gaps and open ice like that. And so it was kind of nice to be able to see him flex more of that kind of offensive, aggressive mindset than maybe he otherwise normally gets to do. But fourth line, third line, whatever line it is, they're playing fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, for a line that cycles as much as that line does, Ryan Winterton doesn't often get the chance to skate long distances in a straight line. But when he does, he is so fast. And I think that's a newer thing this season. We noticed it in the preseason when he looked so much faster than everybody else. But it's nice getting to see it. No, he's still got it. So that was pretty cool. And then again, I love seeing everyone. Hey, there we go. Lemon Lime Gatorade time, baby.
Had to throw that in there for everybody. Had to throw that in
for
there.
sure. For sure. Let's see. And then I see Edward, something I've been doing is wearing my torrent hat on Tuesdays. Torrent Tuesday. Love that.
And I'm down with that.
Yeah. I mean, we got the post-game live Tuesdays when there is a Tuesday game, but also can be Torrent Tuesdays. And the Stratic Sorokin equals tired. Grubauer equals wired. I think that is noticeable. And Dylan, I turned to you during the game and I said, I was probably with that like 6 or 7 minutes to go. So like, I didn't want to jinx it, but I mean, yeah, I know I jinx everything, but I didn't jinx that. I said Philip Grubauer just out-battled Ilya Sorokin in a goalie battle. That's impressive.
Yeah, he definitely did this evening. I do think that he got maybe a little bit more help than what the Islanders gave Ilya Sorokin. But I think that, yeah, Philip Grubauer made all the saves he needed to make tonight. I thought his puck tracking was excellent. I thought, as I've been saying all along this season, and certainly during the more recent stretch here where he's been pretty good, aggressive in his crease, does a good job of going out there, defending his angles, not playing too far back in his crease, not giving up any sort of space, especially up high. We've talked a lot in the past about him being on the smaller side for goaltenders and how that can open up some spaces either around him or up high. He's just not allowing those spots right now at all. And I just think he's been playing absolutely fantastic. And then, yeah, on the other end, Sorokin, again, some of this is on the Islanders defense. I felt like the Kraken were able to get down low in and around the net, in and around the crease, and then move the puck kind of east-west and laterally there. And look, when you're a goaltender and those passing lanes are open right there in front of you, it makes you a little scrambly. And I felt like Ilya Sorokin tonight had to play a little scrambly because of what the Kraken were doing. And it's an uncomfortable spot to be in for a goaltender. Obviously, he's still a fantastic goaltender, despite the fact that he gave up a couple tonight. But also, you look at some of those goals that are scored. You're talking about like 2-on-1 scenarios, opportunities where guys are able to either get the one-timer in the Vince Dunn, pseudo one-timer in the Vince Dunn situation, or You look at the Capo Caco one where he's just kind of able to pick them apart there.
Yeah, I think Sorokin had to move a lot more than he ideally would have wanted to in this game. I always think economy of motion with Ilya Sorokin. He, every motion matters, and I mean, you see it even on the Vince Dunn goal where he almost got it. He had to stretch his arm all the way out to almost to the crossbar. But ideally, he doesn't want to be moving like that. And I like Kylie. Not gonna lie, maybe chuckle seeing Sorokin doing his stretches mid ice during the breaks. That is fun. I just love watching goalies.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun to watch, specifically too.
Yeah, and then here we go. Pack Leinster asking, "What do you think practice will look like tomorrow? Easy, up tempo?" I mean, I think one thing's for sure. I think the vibes are going to feel good. Like the guys are going to be, hooping and hollering like they have done a lot this season.
Yeah, I agree. I think that that's something that we should expect from them. They are, in fact, practicing tomorrow, just to throw that out there. And I almost wonder if that is because, one, it's a little like, hey, kid, don't get cocky off of this, right? It's only one win. Also, I wonder how much of that is you took 7 penalties. I can't like as much as we enjoy the 2 points and we enjoy the win and everything, I can't totally let that go. And as much as maybe Lane Lambert doesn't feel like they necessarily all were penalties too. It's just one of those things that looks bad up there on the board. So you want to be able to take advantage of that. But yeah, I think it's probably more of the same stuff that they've been working on and trying to get better. Would shock me if there was some special teams work. No, I think that that's something that, as good a night as the PK had tonight, it's still something you want to stay on top of. You don't want to get complacent there. And then otherwise, and he really downplayed this in his answer when asked about the lines and the shuffling of the lines in this one, and he kind of like ignored the idea of it from a pregame perspective and just talked about how he had to shuffle the lines this evening because he was just trying to get guys ice time that aren't on special teams because there was so much special teams time. And it was like, yeah, but you know what we're asking, right? There was some pretty aggressive changes before this game started. I think, you just want to get those groups practice time together, right? Get them out there, get them cycling in the offensive zone, let them learn each other's speeds, movements, tendencies. You want to build that chemistry because if you are trying to find certain pairings that you really want to kind of go with for the foreseeable future, they're going to need time to adjust to each other and get on the same page.
Yeah, it does take reps, and I think there's definitely still areas to improve in the Kraken's game, as there should be at any point in a season. But Elbel, I like this. At least they won't need to practice special teams for a few days. They probably did get enough practice in. It would surprise me if it was a special teams heavy practice tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be heavy, but it'll probably be there a little bit.
Do a little bit, yeah, but it shouldn't be most. Also, I do want to mention to everybody, it is an open practice tomorrow, so fans can come and watch it. It's 11:30 a.m., so I always recommend going to the practices if you can as a fan. It's a really cool experience at Kraken Community Iceplex. I mean, I know a lot of people are probably busy on a Thursday at 11:30, but if you can get away, I think it's a good opportunity to go. And then another question from Elbel here. Will Lambert be likely to play Gru a little less after the Olympic break, considering he will be playing in Milan, or will Gru be in few enough games that he'll be ready to go straight away? Oh, they killed the lights.
It's a little. I would think that Gru would be ready to go.
Yeah, I think he'd be ready to go. Again, it's not like he's playing a ton of games. He's still, he has started fewer games than Joey. Still. Yeah, I wouldn't be worried about that. In fact, I think he'd probably be, what's the word? In more of a rhythm, than Joey DeCourt, who will have spent all that time off.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he reiterated today just the fact that he's been able to play as much as he has lately and what that's done for him, being able to get into a rhythm and just play better. And he really does credit his better play to just being able to play more regularly.
Yep. The aliens are beefing Dylan up. Yeah,
I know.
How does that happen?
It just happened when they changed things. And you know what? It's the lights on the banners above me. It's the Ottawa Senators and the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's what's reflecting directly down is the banners for those two teams. Because of course it would be those two teams. It's ridiculous.
So you're stuck between the Ottawa Senators and the Tampa Bay Lightning, like the entire Eastern Conference. It feels like.
Yeah, I'll just there we go. Let it do its thing over here.
There you go. Ottawa, Tampa, hang out over there. Oh, that's pretty funny. And then still related to Grubauer, Stratic asking, what are the Vezina odds for Grubauer, and then Chuck saying he sees plus 50,000. So still a lot. Yeah, I think it's pretty long odds for the Vezina for Grubauer. Where it's not really ready for that talk. I don't think he's going to play enough games to really be considered.
That's the thing, is that he would have to not only keep up his level of play, but he would have to essentially get like, 3-1, 4-1 starts down the stretch over Joey. I don't see that happening.
Probably not. Probably not. I don't think we'd want that to happen. I think that'd probably mean a Joey injury. Yeah, don't want that to happen. Let's see, what else do we have? Chuck also saying the Kraken were dangerously close to allowing a shorty 4 games in a row. The NHL average is a shorty in 7.4% of games. Doing it 4 times in a row is like 1 in 34,000 odds. So
somebody's got to do it.
Four shorties in a row allowed. Philip Grubauer Vezina.
Yeah. It's pretty close there.
Which long odds are you taking?
See, that's what you make a parlay, and then you go.
Yeah, there you go.
The hit on that would bankrupt any casino, I'm sure.
I was gonna say, you put $1 down on that. That's for life.
Yeah, no, it was a chance that I'm sure again they're gonna go over in the video room and they're gonna say this is the stuff that needs to not happen. But otherwise, compared to the previous games, again, I'll go back to what Phil Grubauer talked about, which was the pre-scout work. They did a great job of keeping the Islanders mostly to the outside. I also thought the Islanders helped them out by just never wanting to shoot the puck. I think that is partly why there were so few shots on the power play for the Islanders. That's something that I picked up in like the first 5 minutes of the game. I talked to
very early.
Yeah, I think it was their second or third power play, and there was times where they could move the puck across the ice, across the offensive zone. Grubauer wasn't necessarily over there yet, and whoever received the puck, instead of trying to go for a one-timer or a quick shot, just really wanted to hold on to it until Philip Grubauer got nice and ready in front of him, and then try to fire a shot there. I don't know really what they were doing about that. Vince Dunn said they did a good job blocking shots today, and they did. But I do think that, again, the Islanders maybe helped them out a little bit there, as they really wanted to make sure that puck was settled down and nicely at home in the curve of their sticks before they did anything with it.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something. I do wonder if that's been a thing all season for the Islanders, if that's just been their approach.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either.
Again, look at some of the guys that were on those power play units. Like
their second unit. Oh my gosh, the guys that were on that second unit. Simon Holmstrom is the only one I can remember right now.
some legitimate journeymen on that second unit there for sure. But just to real quick stick with the theme of like the pre-scout and stuff, Lane Lambert also talked about the fact that they were able to mostly keep Matt Barzal and basically completely keep Matthew Schaefer out of this game. And really, if you are facing the New York Islanders, if you can take them out of the game, you're going to give yourself a great chance to win it, and you're going to pretty much take out any legs that the Islanders have. And that's basically what happened tonight, right? After you're the whirlwind there, you find yourself on the PK and they get the great goal from Anthony Duclair. The rest of the game, those guys weren't really able to get going outside that one opportunity for Barzal kind of later in the game. But like Matthew Schaefer, I checked during the second intermission, he's on my fantasy team. He had 0 points, not a single anything, not a block shot, not a shot on goal, nothing. Kraken really made him invisible tonight, and that's an impressive thing, and they do deserve credit for it.
It is. I was going to say, I barely noticed him in this one. He didn't look like a difference maker at all. He just blended in with every other defenseman that the Islanders had. So that's really impressive. And Matt Barzal looked very dynamic to me. I mean, the skating, the puck moving, like he was playing excellent hockey, but I think the Kraken did an even better job of shutting him down, which I think, again, all the more impressive. Like they didn't even make him invisible. He was doing everything he could, but they just kept getting a body in the way of him.
Yeah, they were really isolating him is kind of how I would describe it, right? Anytime he would kind of get going and kind of pick up a full head of steam, get into the offensive zone, they just get a good job of isolating him, keeping him outside to the perimeter, and also not letting him get too far down in the offensive zone. They were really trying to keep him up high in the offensive zone position he doesn't normally typically want to play from, and he just wasn't really then able to kind of do anything. And it was interesting because we haven't seen that a lot from the Kraken this year, as far as being able to take a dynamic player like that out of the game without having to like really physically body them up. In this one, it was just kind of like, hey, we're just going to kind of force him to try to make a play that he doesn't want to make. And that'll take him out of the game, because Matt Barzal, he's a slick guy. You throw somebody at him, there's a good chance he could make a move and kind of get around you there. Or certainly in a game like this, also, once it was established 10 minutes in and 5 penalties had been called, you probably also don't want to risk taking a stick penalty by trying to like strip him of the puck or anything like that. So maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's going to get called any attempt you make of that. And then Solid Octoparacade asking, what did you think of the D pair changes tonight? I'm not sure I'm buying what Alexiak Montour and Evans Lindgren are selling. Now, I know especially Evans Lindgren certainly scared us on paper going into this one, but what do you think?
It scared us in the past, scared us on paper. Look, I think it benefited all defensive pairings in this game that this game was played so much at, one special teams time, right? The fact that there was not a lot of 5-on-5 time, I think benefited everybody. And I think it really benefited the Kraken. They were able to shelter that pairing specifically. It felt like, I don't have the final ice time numbers up in front of me, but it would not surprise me if for Riker Evans, it was low. And then obviously, of course, had the injury in there as well. But I think that it was one of those where we never really had to see them put in a too difficult of a spot, because the penalty kills, the power plays was just kind of breaking up the game so much that when you could get, say, Dunn Larson out there and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Okay, so that's Zoe. I was trying to say, I was trying to remember who that was with the username there that got.
I know. I hate that it did that.
Yeah. It did that for all of us. I even went on the YouTube stream thing and it changed it there. So I don't know. But anyway, thank you, Zoe, for letting us know that it's you. Again, the types of the comments sounded familiar. I'm like, that's definitely someone that's a regular. But thank you, Zoe. That helps. Also, I like that. That's a cool name. Solid Octoparakeet. And then Leo saying Catton only got like 8 minutes, but I thought he looked pretty good. I agree. I already kind of said my piece on that earlier in this. Like, I thought he was fantastic in those 8 minutes that he got, but I'll let you weigh in.
Yeah, I think the thing that excites me the most about Berkeley Catton is that he just tries things, right? Like, and that's not something we've ever been able to say about a Kraken player before. Is not necessarily just that he's that much more dynamic or that his skill set's that much higher, especially right now, just while he's a rookie and he's so young, but he's not afraid to try things. And I think that that's the thing that impresses me the most with him in the offensive zone, is that not only is he going to try to play with speed and he's got the puck skills and everything like that, he has no problem trying to go for, hey, I'm just going to, they're giving me the opportunity to kind of drive the net here. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to try to lift a backhander up over Sorokin's shoulder. Why not? Right? Stuff like that. Or, hey, I'm just going to try to make a move and, send the puck through this defender's legs and try to go around him if I can. Or I'm going to make this pass creatively in the offensive zone. Let me just kind of go for it. And it's one of those things where he's doing this a lot in all of his games. There'll be 3 or 4 plays a game where I'm like, wow, that's just not anything that we're used to seeing. And they're not necessarily all working yet, because I think he's so young and he is in his rookie season and he has to, learn what you can and can't get away with as far as what you can try and when you can be trying it. But I think it's one of those things where you give him another year or two, and especially you give the other guys on this team another year or two of playing with him, because frankly, I think they've gotten pretty used to the idea that there's not going to be anything creative going on out there. It's just going to be sticking to the game plan, the basic cycle, whatever the coach kind of wants them to be doing in the offensive zone. I just don't think guys always have their heads up right now when they're playing with him, just because they've never really needed to in a Kraken sweater. I think as the years go by and another season or two passes, not only is he going to get better with the things that he's trying, but I think his line mates are going to get more used to him trying those things, and they'll be able to put themselves in a spot to help him out. And then that's when you'll really see all the plays coming together for him. And you'll see a player who can have that kind of special production, at least hopefully, that the Kraken have missed their entire existence.
Yeah, it takes some getting used to from the existing guys. I think also some of the prospects that are going to come up and eventually play with him might be able to think that the game at that level a little bit better too. So can't wait to see that for some of those guys. And then Jason saying too, after that penalty, I wasn't shocked by Catton's low ice time. It's just how Lane has run things. Yeah, he did take a penalty that was not the greatest in this game. And it wouldn't surprise me if Lane, maybe reduced the ice time a little bit after that. It's the accountability we talk about, and we certainly don't mind. In that sense. And then Zoe saying Myers got the helmet, well deserved. Bryce, love that for Myers. I love that for Ben Myers too. And maybe this is a good way to close it out as we're over the hour mark. But I know we haven't been asked yet, but I want to ask you, Dylan, Well, here's the thing. I want to do something that's kind of unfair. I want to ask
Cool.
you.
Sure.
Yeah, this is great.
I am under the Ottawa Senators banner.
Yes, exactly. Unfair. So I was going to ask you, what's your favorite goal of the game? But I'm going to give my own answer first and claim the goal that I think is best and not give you a chance to have it. And it's the one that involves Ben Myers.
Okay.
So my favorite goal of the game was the Vince Dunn goal, and I love it because, well, it's the fourth line doing work again, but it's skill plays from these guys. And it all starts off in the D zone with Ryan Winterton making a nice play to break the puck out. He's patient with it as the puck comes to him. He doesn't just chip it off the boards. He takes a second, looks, finds a teammate, and then Ben Myers at the offensive blue line. I love this play from him. It's such a high hockey IQ play, but he kind of fakes and sells the dump in a little bit. And again, fourth liner, Ben Myers. Yeah, he's going to dump that puck in. Both defensemen for the Islanders completely bite on it. Then he just whips it right around across the ice to Ryan Winterton, creates the 2-on-1. Winterton with the little tap over to Vince Dunn. Such a beautiful play. I love that goal.
It is a fantastic one. That would be the one that I would take if I could take one. So you did a good job there. I'm going to do something I don't know that we've ever done before, and I'm going to pick the empty net goal. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And I'm gonna take the empty net goal because I like the play that Grubauer makes. Right. Doesn't go for the empty net the way that we all kind of wanted him to. And he actually spoke about this. He was asked about it afterwards, and he did say, I'm not going for that. Like he's like, don't expect that from me. That's not the way I think. All I want to do is get that puck moved up the boards, let my guys along the boards make the play, go on. I'll take the apple. That's fun. That's nice. But don't ever expect me to kind of make that play and go for it. That's just not who I am. So I want to throw that out there for everybody. Joey is still the one to watch when we're in these situations. But I do think it's one of those things where the Kraken, it was a nice unit effort, right? A nice team effort on that play. I love the hustle from McCann to get down the ice, beat out the icing, be there to put that one away in the empty net there. But I like the way that it's exactly like a coach would draw it up as far as the goaltender stopping it, moving it up along the boards, get that puck in deep. The other guy goes out there and hustles down there, beats out the icing, and is able to get the goal. That's what you want to see if you're a coach. And it's the kind of effort plays that the Kraken have been making all season long, but it's also the ones that they need to be making in clutch situations like when they scored this one tonight to be able to pick up wins and stay in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, you know what? I was skeptical, but he said the empty net goal. I think you did a pretty good job of explaining yourself. I will give you props for that. You were put in an unfair situation. You made the best of it. Proud of you, Dylan. Well done. And so I think that's a perfect note to close out this ECH post-game live presented by Queen Anne Beer Hall. I let everybody know about the date for the Moss Bay Hall watch party. Cannot wait.
Yeah.
These watch parties are like some of the favorite things that we do, and we'll get to see the East Side people. So that's going to be really great. Looking forward to that one. And then we will see you all. I don't know when the next one is, but we'll see sometime next week. Yeah, but we'll see you all for a post-game debrief. Also then presented by Queen Anne Beer Hall after the Kraken game in a couple days. Big one coming up against the Anaheim Ducks. Cannot wait to see how that one goes.
Yep. I'll let the mothership take me now.